So I just wanted to talk a little bit about like my experience with just relating to other people in general. Um I just got back from a pretty long day. I was out walking like literally all day in the heat. So um I'm kind of tired right now, I'm not going to lie. Um but I would say like in terms of like friendship, like I've always been, a girl's girl basically, like um, in terms of like friendship preference. I maybe had like one or two male friends in my life, but it was like when I was like way younger and it didn't go over well, like they eventually started to get like jealous and almost try to treat me like I was their girlfriend even though they were in relationships, which was really strange. So like, just getting really controlling and I wasn't having it, so I dropped them. But um, in terms of like actually being able to uh, just connect and relate, like um, the few healthy like female friendships I've had, because I've gotten mixed up in toxic circles before of mean girls, in my past, especially in my 20s. Um, which obviously wasn't healthy, being in circles like that with female narcissists, covert narcissists that just talk about you behind your back, and they'll go out with you and you socialize together, but you're part of that group and they're just looking down on you, out of everyone in the group you're like the lowest in the hierarchy. If you're neurodivergent, or you're intuitive, or you're an empath, or anything, like you can see through narcissists, then you're the target in those kind of groups. But I'm just talking about regular, healthy friendships I've had in the past, like with women. Those have been my preferred friendships, just in terms of just having somebody to um, just like vent to, or, go out with, or just travel with, or relate to. Like, that's always been my preference. So yeah, growing up, my siblings who were, female narcissists, they were constantly surrounded by like male friends, and obviously that was their supply. But because, they're really not girls, they don't really support other women like that, they're um all about getting attention. So they really, I don't think, really related to other women like that, just in terms of having empathy for them and the plight that we women deal with every day, just, trying to get by in this life. So no, I think that that was their preference, to kind of get like that male attention. That was what my siblings were constantly on about all the time. Because, they can't live without that validation. So, but yeah, I'd say like just in terms of in my life, like the people I've connected with the most, um, and that were basically there for me when I really needed it, were women. It's always been other women, Um, any guy I've dated in the past, even if he wasn't a narcissist, a full blown narcissist, had been extremely selfish. They were only there for transactional reasons, mostly just to try to sleep with me. But, if I wasn't performing how they wanted me to, you know, in a relationship, in dating, and doing what they wanted, on their terms, it's like they have no use for you, you know? And that's pretty much been all the men I've ever dealt with in my life, and dated. And got into relationships with was that's it's not like it's not like that kind of like, unconditional, like maybe not necessarily unconditional, but like non-judgmental kind of love, that you have with your, female friends. It's not like that. It's not like that, that you can have with other women. It's really not. It's based on what you do for them, how you make them feel, which we all know is narcissistic. It's not really about you, who you are most of the time. And I haven't ever experienced that um, with any of the men that I've dated in the past. Never. Um, and good luck with them ever being there for you emotionally too, or in times of need a lot of the times. And that's the really sad part about people like me, and a lot of survivors is like, especially if you've had to cut off your family, your toxic family, you really don't have that baseline support that a lot of people do, to just go to, right? To like turn to in your time of need. You know what I'm saying? Like, because a lot of people in the world, like, have that, right? They have that, sibling they can call up, um, or that aunt, or just somebody to vent to and to, go to in a time of need, but survivors who had to literally cut off their entire family, they don't have that. They don't have that luxury to just call somebody if they need anything. They're their own life support. So if anything happens, like, in your lifetime, anything can happen. You get sick, you have an emergency, you have to go to the hospital, you have to get surgery. And then a lot of the times nowadays, especially, like when you get surgery, they expect you to have an emergency contact that can come and give you a ride and take you back home. You can't drive yourself after surgery. So if you don't even have that at all, like, you're screwed in a lot of cases. Like sometimes they won't even let you get surgery or whatever you need, if you're not able to like drive a vehicle afterward. And as women too, it's a safety issue also, like taking a random Uber or with a stranger after, we're still like fucked up from, messed up, sorry, from anesthesia, and we're not in our right mind. We're not going to want to get in, an Uber or a taxi with some random strange male. Like, no, that's dangerous. We're not in our right minds. So it's not safe. But like, because that's how women get kidnapped. That's how they get drugged and raped is, by getting in a random guy's, Uber or Lyft when they're intoxicated, when they're inebriated. So all this stuff, like, not having it is a huge burden. It's extremely stressful, very stressful, debilitatingly stressful. Not having that support network just opens you up to all kinds of targeting, you know what I mean? And the people that target you, like when they know you're isolated, right? When they know that you don't have that support system, when they see you coming and going, where you live or whatever, and you're alone a lot, you know what I'm saying? They see you don't have that support. They're gonna see you as an easy mark. And that's the world we live in. That's the world we live in, unfortunately. And I've had that happen with people that I don't even know, I don't suspect are totally narcissist or sociopaths. I mean, they could be, maybe I don't know them. I didn't, spend enough time around them. Um, but, they always seem normal at first. We know that, but um, they find that out about you, and then they just target you based on that and try to harm you in all kinds of ways, They try to act nice and friendly or whatever, like they're supportive of you, but then they find out the whole isolation thing. And then they do really fucked up shit because they see you as an easy mark, as an easy target. They'll steal from you right under your nose. They'll do things like that because they just see, well, who's gonna come in, to your defense anyway? You know, who's gonna say or do anything if I harm you? You know what I'm saying? And I've had that happen. Um, you know, Here moving back to New York, people catch on. They watch you, they study you, and they see just how isolated you are, and then they target you. And they may not even have to be full blown sociopaths. The one that I suspect has done this recently might be, but I don't even think it's that. Just opportunists who see your situation and then think you're an easy mark. So I've had that happen, and it's really fucked up. And you didn't make that choice. You didn't choose this kind of life. But you had to cut off the narcissist in your family, your toxic family, for survival. So yeah, it's just like, it's really fucked up. But they just see that lack of family, that lack of support, and they just think they can do anything they want to you, and there's not going to be any repercussions. I try to play it as smart as I can, as safe as I can, especially like within my own building, my own neighborhood. But at the same time, even when you have to fight back, you have to fight back. You know what I mean? I've been targeted, in my own neighborhood, right? In my own building, by people who just watch. They watch and they see, what's going on. You know what I'm saying? Male contractors, they think about it. They see a single female, okay, living alone, and they think easy mark, easy target. You know what I'm saying? They don't see a lot of people coming and going from your place. They see you don't have a boyfriend. You don't live with a man. You don't have a husband. Oh, you're prey. Like, you're prey to them. You have a target on your forehead, and they are going to try everything they can to try to trespass against your boundaries. I have had this happen in the last like half a year with various male contractors that I've had, to have come in and stuff and do different things like work and stuff in my place. They've tried to cross lines and boundaries and all sorts of bullshit with me. Again, just because they see you're quiet, they see you're introverted, they think shyness and weakness, but it's anything but that. That's how they see you as. And they're going to try to test your boundaries. They're going to try to do little things here and there. I have had numerous fucked up things happen since living alone here in New York. Yeah. And you get targeted by the very people that you think you can trust, the people who like live in your own fucking building. It's very fucked up. Or, contractors that come in and you think there's like a baseline level of trust, and there's not, there's not. It's really fucked up. It's scary. It's fucking scary, when you live alone as a woman. Like, anybody coming into your place, doing work, whatever, they see there's a man not there. There's no man there, I mean. They're going to see you as an easy target to steal from, to harass, to test your boundaries, sexually harass you, all that. I've had all of that and more happen. Yeah. In my own place. Because again, they see you as an easy mark. Even though I was strong with these people, I stood up to them. I set boundaries. It doesn't fucking matter. Listen, it doesn't matter how strong you are, how intimidating you are, you're still a fucking woman. And in this world that we live in, women are not respected or valued. We're just not. And we're constantly targeted by men to take advantage of us. Constantly. We get targeted by female predators as well. Female narcissists, but I don't think that they're actively, trying to like hunt, you know what I mean, as much as like male predators. Like they do, like, socially, hierarchically, they try to, one up you, right? A lot of times with female narcissists, but they're not really, you know what I'm saying? Like they're not going as hard, as the men that I feel like come after us as single women. They're not to harm us, to prey on us, to see that we're alone, to see that there's no other man around that can defend us or protect us or step in, and scare the other guy off. They see that. And so they're going to try to take full advantage of that, and just think they can do anything they want to you, and that no, they're not going to face any repercussions. It's disgusting. It's disgusting. It's really fucked up, but that's the world we live in. And I just hate it when these males, that they know that I live alone. You know what I'm saying? I hate it. I can't stand it. Especially in a place like New York, especially in a place as predatory as New York, City. Like it's fucked up. It's dangerous if they know that. It's really dangerous if they know that, if they know you live alone. But yeah, I have faced that in the last like few months, and I mean, you have to do what you have to do to try to, protect your apartment, wherever you live, secure it, all that. But you know what I mean? Like you can only do so much as a woman that lives alone, You can only do so much to secure yourself because, if you don't have like a guard dog, you don't have a man around that can scare off other men, like it's like good luck, you're gonna constantly get targeted, and I have been. I'm just trying to do what I can to secure my place, to secure my, fortress from these scavengers, that just see that like you live alone and they just want to target you for that, It's fucked up, and it happens all the time in New York, Contractors, building people, whoever, like they're gonna see that. You know what I mean? And so many single independent women that live around, these cities, big cities, working women that live alone, which there's a hell of a lot of those in New York City, constantly get targeted, A lot of people want to put on this image of, oh, a lot of women are just these successful, professional women who get their own apartments and they're in New York City and they're baddies and all this shit. That may be the case partly, but they're actually constantly victimized. You don't see the other side of the whole being successful in New York City thing, which is the fact that you're, again, a woman, you live alone, and you're a prime target. There's like a dark side to that whole like single, women and being successful in a big city. There's a dark side to that lifestyle. You can have all the professional credentials you want. You can have all the degrees you want. You can have financial success. You can come home to a clean apartment every day and afford a lot of nice things. But at the end of the day, guess what? You live alone. You're a woman, and therefore you're vulnerable. It's as simple as that. You're fucking vulnerable. You are vulnerable to all kinds of predatory men targeting you because you live alone. Because you don't have a man. And I know it's like fucked up to say, but honestly, since I moved back to New York, I've thought like I've had so many thoughts at times, It would be nice to have a man around for protection in a city like this. Like, I'm just being practical here. I'm just being practical. Like, it would really be helpful. You know what I mean? To walk around the streets with all these crazy, drug addicted males, homeless males running the street, attacking women. Like, yeah, yeah, fuck yeah, I would feel safer if I had a guy next to me, walking with me around the city, who is, maybe trained in fighting or some kind of, jujitsu, whatever, that can take out whoever's trying to attack me. Yeah, yeah, hell yeah, I would feel safer. I can only do so much to defend myself, I can lift weights, I can do all that to try to strengthen my muscles, but I can't take on somebody like 2 or 3 times my size and weight. I can't, you know? I'm gonna be overpowered. So, like, I have seriously had thoughts about it, and like, I don't wanna, get with somebody just to, like, not be single anymore. Like, obviously, I've gone 8 years without dating, so I'm clearly fine not dating or being in a relationship. I clearly don't need to be. Um, and I haven't stepped back into the scene since I moved back to New York. In terms of getting out on the scene and the dating scene, I have not. And I've been back like over half a year already. But and I walk around the city and I see there's plenty of, fit, attractive men, successful men, all that. But I just don't want to, given all my experiences with them and feeling like I don't know if I'll ever be ready again. I don't know if I'll ever be ready to date again. I don't know. And at this point, it's like there's just so much crazy shit happening. It's so fucking dangerous for women out there to date these men. Like, I don't know. Honestly, I don't know if I'm ever going to be ready. I don't know. I mean, so, but yeah, you bet your ass. When I'm walking around, especially my neighborhood, and I see random crackheads, walking down the street staring at you with, menacing, looks and stuff. Hell yeah. Hell yeah, I wish I had a strong man by my side, to give them looks to scare them off. Yeah, yeah, I do. I wish that. But, there's no guarantee that he's not going to hurt me too. I don't know. I mean, the guy that I'm with, I mean. So, I don't know. It's just like it's just really fucked up, like I said, like the constant targeting because you're seen as vulnerable, if you live alone. These sleazy guys here around these cities target women who live alone. Like, again, it doesn't matter how well you're doing. If the fact that you can afford your own apartment in New York City, you're not some trust fund kid. You did it all on your own. It doesn't matter. Like, you're still vulnerable. And you're like a million times more vulnerable. Not even just the whole like being single with not living with a man, not having a man with you, but also you're vulnerable because of the lack of family support, like in my case. So that makes you even more vulnerable than a woman who's just, single, like living alone and stuff in somewhere like New York, but not having family on top of that. Oh, that's really bad. That's really, really bad. That makes it a million times worse. So yeah, I guess today I'm just kind of like feeling sorry for myself, but um it is scary at times. And I can be as strong as I want. I mean, as strong as I think I am, which I think I'm pretty strong, but at the end of the day, I know there's just so much that um like I mean, I don't think that anyone is stronger than the system we live in, you know? The patriarchal system that constantly punishes women just for, trying to live our lives. I'm not stronger than that. I'm not stronger than that system that constantly I'm dealing with every day. We as women, we're under so much pressure. Like, to find a man, to get married, right? To have a kid and all that. And like, I'm 35, I'm in my mid 30s, and like, I know I don't look it, but um the fact that I have like literally never lived with a man, I have never got married, and I've never had a kid, like, I'm kind of an anomaly. Well, they say like more and more women are going to be child free in the next like coming years. But still, like, I'm like a statistical like anomaly, you know? I really am. Like I never got as like serious with a man, or live with him, or got to that point of like getting married. Never. It never happened in my life. I mean, I always got out before it got really to that point. Um but yeah, cuz I always felt like, they were trying to infringe on my, privacy, my autonomy. I couldn't breathe around them. um I felt trapped, uh like and I need so much space, like literally. My social battery is so low, my energy is constantly so low. Like it takes so much energy for me to just like shower and just do my job, and go to work and just exist and go to the gym, and that's it. Like, it's hard. Like even getting out, going out, doing stuff, trying to meet other people, new people, all that. It's exhausting. Like I barely have any energy for that. I don't. Um, I think part of it is like a lack of motivation also that I suffer from, which is part of, what do they call it? Anhedonia, which is like one of the symptoms of schizoid, or schizophrenia too. Um, well, schizoid is like, a lot of it is like the negative symptoms of schizophrenia. So it has to do with anhedonia, which is like a lack of motivation to really do anything. So I don't feel that like motivation really to just, you know, make goals, or do, or to try to achieve something, or feel like motivated to do my art or whatever. I don't have that. I don't have that. And I think a huge reason that I don't is like I don't feel like that sensation, that pleasure, that dopamine hit when I do those things. I feel nothing. Like I feel flat. It sucks. Like it fucking sucks. People will be like, well, how can being emotionally flat a lot of the time, and disconnected, and off in your own little, fantasy world internally and all that, how can that be suffering? Well, it is fucking suffering. It is fucking suffering, and I'm saying that. Um, you know, like people think that, well, if you're not constantly depressed, or you don't feel that loneliness that like regular people might feel if they're alone all the time, neurotypical whatever people will feel if they're constantly physically isolated like I am, then you're not suffering. Well, no, I fucking am. I am. I may not feel as much pain as I used to internally when I was like really going through it with depression and self-harm and all that, but that was, in my when I was much younger. But it's still suffering. Um, it's still suffering to feel that flatness, that neutralness all the time. It's not like, I mean, now and then, I'll feel like that depression again. It'll come up now and then, but it doesn't come up that often anymore. Um, but I do have, major depression diagnosis, a diagnosis. I've had that my whole life. Um, but it doesn't like show up a lot. Maybe like once every few months, I have like a crying spell, but um most of the time I don't feel that. I don't feel that really like deep sadness, or whatever emotions involved around depression like that I used to be able to feel. I don't. And I remember being able to feel those things with like the depression, but I don't anymore. Most of the time it's just like total numbness. Um, and I'm like trying to figure out what I'm even feeling. Um, but that's suffering in its own, because I'm sitting there like trying to figure out what the fuck am I even feeling? Like, do I even have any feelings right now? It's just this constant internal, um, you know, like barrenness, right? Um, and I'm trying to pinpoint like what I'm feeling at any given point, and I can't do it. I just feel like neutral all the time. I feel like flat. Like there's nothing, like I'm not feeling really sad, or depressed a lot most days. And I don't feel like excitement or joy or any motivation. Um, laughing spontaneously a whole lot. No. So it's just constant flatness, constant neutral, and your people be like, "That's not suffering. That sounds pretty stable to me." Well, no, it is suffering, because you know, I'm not. At least I don't know. Maybe in the future, if I'm going to be capable of it through therapy, I don't know the right therapy that that I think would help me. But it you feel robbed every day of life. You can't participate in life. Like you're behind some thick glass pane looking out at people around you that are experiencing and living life. You know what I mean? And connecting with other people and getting pleasure out of that, and joy and stuff. And you're on the inside looking out at other people being able to just live and um experience life, experience the ups and downs of life, and you can't even do that. So it is suffering. It is suffering, because you're on the outside looking in, or you're, like I was saying, the analogy, like it's like being trapped behind a really thick pane of glass, and you can't get out. You're trapped basically behind a pane of glass, and you're looking from behind that glass at everybody else around you, and observing them, and they're able to just like feel the ups and downs of life, and just um, experience excitement, experience joy, feel all of that, and you can't. So yeah, it is suffering. It is. um it's debilitating. It's almost worse. It almost like it does feel worse. It does feel worse than when I was just plain depressed every day. It is worse. I think it is. I don't know. I don't see a whole lot of benefits to it, other than being able to be more logical about a lot of things, being more detached emotionally can help you just like think, you know, over, like use your logic and thinking over emotions. Like I think that helps, but it's still suffering. You can use as much logic as you want at the end of the day, but like emotionally you're starving. Emotionally you're trying to conjure up, all these things that you used to be able to feel. Like I know I did, especially before PTSD and everything, you know, or before my schizoid symptoms were getting started to get worse. um, you know, Being able to feel all that, even if it was still kind of muted at the time, I could still like, feel something like that. And now it's like there's just nothing there. And it is I think it's suffering. Yeah. It's suffering, you know what I'm saying? Like like I've honestly thought about countries like, Netherlands, they allow for like euthanasia and stuff, like peaceful or some kind of like medical reason, like autism and what I have like is actually like a medical reason, like in countries like Netherlands, for like euthanasia. Like it really is. So um you know like it is like it's supposed to be ethical, but I mean, finding out what I found out in the last few years, and knowing this is permanent, that I'm going to have to live with this for the rest of my life, that there's no cure, that there's no therapy that actually helps it. Therapy really only helps like symptoms of PTSD, it helps symptoms of depression, anxiety. That's not what I'm dealing with. I'm dealing with specific diagnoses that literally there's really not much therapy for. So it is, in a lot of ways, it does feel pretty hopeless. It really does, you know? And it makes me think, like, along those lines. You know, if I have to live in this state of suffering, right, where my diagnoses cause constant social burnout, constant, you know, where socializing literally causes me suffering and pain and drains me, but it's really actually the thing that I probably need the most given everything I've been through in my life and the lack of support, you know. Growing up with narcissists, the main thing that I need as an adult is healthy, loving relationships, right? But I can't even fucking access those pretty much because of my fucking diagnoses. So that's just suffering on top of suffering. You know, so it really does feel like a dead end for me. It feels completely hopeless because, again, there's no medication for what I have. There's no fucking therapy that actually helps. None. Like, it's completely fucking hopeless. It's permanent. There's no cure. And I know that I'm gonna have to live with this for the rest of my fucking life. And it is complex, you know? It's complex. It's not like you know, people who just have depression or anxiety or PTSD. No, it's a lot more fucking serious than that. And there's no cure. There's no help for somebody like me. And given everything I know about it, like, I've thought about the whole like euthanasia thing, like in some of those countries that allow it. You know, I have. You know what I mean? Because if I can't feel pleasure, like if I can't feel those things, you know, like connection with a lot of people or the world or, you know, just things that I thought that at least that I used to enjoy, then I don't know what the point is, you know? You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a lot of survivors of narcissistic abuse that can still get joy, you know, and excitement and pleasure out of things that they love to do. I'm not one of those, you know. I'm not. Like, I'll do things that I'm supposed to care about, that I'm supposed to love, right? Like traveling, whatever, but I'm literally just going through the motions. Like, I literally am doing something exciting that's supposed to be exciting, right? Like traveling to another country, but the whole time I don't feel fucking anything. Like, I don't feel excitement like I used to be able to feel like, oh, I'm going to this country, I'm traveling. Like, it's all flat with me, it's all blank. Like, but I'm like looking at what I'm doing and I'm like, I'm supposed to feel this, right? And I don't. And it's fucking scary. It's fucking terrifying, you know? And part of it has to do with like the derealization, you know, depersonalization symptoms, which is, I've talked about it in some of my other videos, but it's unexplainable. It's fucking unexplainable, you know, to look at your own body and think that and feel it's not real, to look at your surroundings and feel like that's not real. Like, it's fucking scary. You know, the things that I have had to deal with the last few years, the symptoms, who knows? Who knows, honestly? You know, and I've said this in other videos, and it's really scary to think about. That would be the ultimate, I would feel the ultimate loss in my case, after everything I've thought I've defeated in terms of, you know, cutting off my narcissist family, going no contact, feeling like I've survived all of that just to reach this dead end of suffering, you know? Um, and knowing that there is a chance that this could turn into full-blown schizophrenia is extremely terrifying. There is a chance. There's a small chance because I've read in the medical literature that schizoid is actually can be prodromal to schizophrenia, meaning you experience those symptoms, right, of schizoid before it turns into full-blown fucking schizophrenia. And at that point, I mean, come on, like just please put me out of my fucking misery. So, there's nothing cute, there's nothing to glorify about these symptoms. There's nothing cool about it. I mean, I've made like jokes and stuff before, like, defeating narcissists and all that, being like an observer of them and all this stuff with the whole schizoid thing. But honestly, like in all seriousness, like it's nothing to glorify. It's nothing to think that it's cool or edgy or anything. No, it's fucking not. It's nothing but suffering and scary as fuck and um torture to be like this. Um it's not like a superpower. I mean, like in the sense of being like easier to outmaneuver and outsmart narcissists, yes, it helps, but at the end of the day, like it's literal hell on earth every day. I wouldn't wish this on my worst enemy because all it does is lead to what? Like isolate, even more isolation, which survivor, you don't need that. But at the end of the day, like with someone with my wiring, I literally can't force myself to go out and socialize. I can't do it. I can't. Like, my social battery is too low. My energy is too low. I get so easily overwhelmed and just need so much alone time. It's fucking unreal. It really is. I literally need it. But I know at the end of the day, it's also probably making my symptoms worse and leading to more suffering. It's an impossible what do you call it? I don't know the word for it, but there's a word where it basically says like you're doing something that you know you shouldn't do, but I don't know. It like the two things feed each other. I don't know. Like there was like a term I was just thinking for that, um but yeah, it really does take like the point of like living life out of life. It does. That's why honestly, like when you go on a lot of the you know, schizoid forums and you see them talking about the meaninglessness of life, that's what they're talking about. That's what they're talking about. It's not just depression. It's really not. Because the thing is with depression, you can still get some sense of like meaning and joy out of life. It's not just that. It's a lot worse than that. They talk about how everything just feels gray all the time. There's no color in the world, and it's fucking true. It's fucking true. It's not just depression. It's more complicated than that. Um, it's fucking scary, but yeah, that's why they talk about that a lot. They literally say, like, I'm just going through the motions every day and waiting for the end every day. And if I had to sum up what being schizoid is like in a nutshell, that's what it's like. And a lot of people, like, they want to rush in and say, well, maybe it can get better, and they say like, they want to help you and they want to like save you and all this, but I'm like just telling them, like, I'm trying to be as realistic as I possibly can and tell them like, hey, you know there's really not a whole lot you can do. Like, you know what I'm saying? It's kind of like in a physical health sense, in terms of somebody's physical health, it's kind of like being diagnosed, with like malignant cancer or something like that. That there's not really a whole lot you can do for it, except like palliative care, helping the person feel better, right, as they're like dying. But there's really not much else you can do for that person. It's kind of a lost cause, and that's exactly what it is like in my case. So, you know, I don't mean to scare anybody, but I do. It does. I scare myself a lot when I talk like this, but like it's really true. Like it's absolutely fucking true. And I'm just trying to be like as realistic as I can in my expectations for what my life is going to look like in the future. Because I can't see it getting like better, you know? Um, but if it does get like a lot worse, I don't really know at that point. I don't know. Um, Maybe I think just having like a little bit of support would be helpful, like, but we know how hard that is to come by. I mean, genuine support. It's not easy, because just constantly being targeted by narcissists and predators, being a prime target for them. Um, and then having to constantly cut people off because they end up being a predator. So, that's also another barrier, obviously. Not only my own shit going on, my own internal stuff, but the fact that on a practical level, realistically, it seems every time I put myself out there socially, another narcissist, another predator um, trying to get at me, you know? Literally, I just dip my toes in the water socially and try to give somebody the benefit of the doubt and try to be like, all right, I'm gonna try to make this work, this acquaintance or this friendship. They turn out to be somebody trying to take advantage of me, manipulate me, and see me as an isolated, easy mark. So you tell me how fucking hopeless this situation is, my situation. You know what I'm saying? And it further feeds my symptoms, right? My symptoms of schizoid, which is to constantly isolate. But when I do try to fucking, try to fight those symptoms and put myself out there and try to socialize, what happens? I meet another narcissist, and what does that do? That feeds into my supposedly so-called disordered thinking, which is, well, it's safer in isolation anyway. It's safer to just be fucking alone anyway. You know what I'm saying? So it's like a negative cycle that feeds itself. So, and one of the most annoying things I'd say is just like being told, like, when I've seen therapists in the past and people like, or just people in general that'll be like, well, you're hard to read. Well, yeah, not only because of my fucking diagnosis, but when you grow up with narcissists, um, you have to constantly hide how you feel, to protect yourself. You have to constantly wear a poker face. You have to constantly, because you're not allowed to have feelings, Like, and when I was a child being parentified by my narcissist parents, they don't allow you to have any feelings because they're the only ones that are allowed to have any feelings. They're the only ones whose feelings matter and yours don't. So you have to shut down. You can't express yourself. You can't have any needs or feelings or wants of your own. So you just shut it all the fuck down. And that's what I had to do in childhood. That's what I had to do. And that's why I blame them for the reason that I'm suffering the way I am now. You know what I mean? I blame them for getting this fucking diagnosis of schizoid. People say, "Oh, well, you had to have a relative that had schizophrenia to have that diagnosis." I don't know. I don't know anybody in my family that had schizophrenia. So, I truly think it was just that. It was narcissistic abuse. That's why I am the way I am today, and I fucking blame them 100% for being this way, for having this fucking diagnosis. They caused it. They caused it. And that's why I want to try to fight it every day, but it almost seems impossible to fight. It's like an uphill battle. It's like going against my own wiring and trying to force myself to do something that I don't feel wired to do. But at the same time, I also feel like if I'm not trying to change this and try to get better or healthier or whatever, or more normal, what society considers normal, then in a way, like, they're winning. The narcissists are winning, you know? Because at the end of the day, my diagnoses, what I'm suffering from is just hurting me at the end of the day. It's not really hurting um anybody else. It's not, you know? It's not like a narcissist whose disorder is harming everybody around them. What I have is just all it's harming is myself. It's just hurting me at the end of the day. So I'm the only one suffering because of it. Now, I maybe had like connections and friendships in the past where they had more, like emotional needs or demands that I couldn't meet, but it's not like I was like, harming them or whatever by just being more distant or, not able to like really like, I guess, you know, have all like the whole like spectrum of, emotions and being able to reciprocate and all that. Like, I don't think so. I think it was more like I felt like overwhelmed. So, and like drained, by them, but like with like a lot of, just like overwhelming emotional expectations and stuff. Because I need my space, like even in a friendship, I need a lot more space than regular people do. So I don't think it was that, I don't think that, I've hurt anybody in that way or whatever. Um, intentionally. So, um, I'd say for somebody like myself, probably the healthiest friendships I've had were ones with like a lot of independence, a lot of space, giving each other a lot of space, a lot of distance. And you might say, well, like that's not really healthy either. But, for somebody like me, I need that, because of how independent I am. Like I need a lot of space. I need a lot of where we can go like days, without talking or weeks and just be able to pick up off, where we left off. Like, I can't have constant suffocating, you know, daily or like even weekly calls or just like I can't. Like I'll get so drained and just exhausted and I can't function like that. Like I'm not wired like that. I need so much solitude just to recharge. Like I can't walk outside like here in New York, walk down the street and hear all these conversations going on around me at once and all these like everything fucking overwhelming me. Like and within like minutes I start to feel drained and exhausted. Like that's literally how I'm wired. It's like, so even if I like you, like even if we're friends and stuff, like I still can feel like socially exhausted, like drained. And like obviously a lot of people don't take too well to that, but you don't mean anything by it. You don't mean to hurt anybody and you don't want to or you know, you're not like being malicious about it. You just like literally need like so much alone time to like recharge to have any energy to even socialize. So, I don't know. I mean, I am like worried. I don't want my symptoms to get worse. I don't want this to get worse than it already feels. And it just really sucks that like, nobody I've seen has been able to help me. None of the therapists, because a lot of the times they don't know what the fuck to do. They don't know what they're dealing with. They don't have the tools. They don't have the scope, the experience to deal with this. And I really don't know if I can find anyone in New York City that's worked with somebody like me. I don't know. um, there's therapists. I've watched some of their videos that have said they've seen improvements in their patients, their schizoid patients, but it's probably far and few between, honestly. And they probably would cost a hell of a lot. And they're probably pretty rare, you know, because I'm sure a lot of therapists and all that, once they see diagnoses like that, they're gonna try to wash their hands clean of it. They're not gonna want to deal with it. You know what I mean? Because it would take them so much fucking work just to get me to open up. It would take them so much work that a lot of them don't want to do, you know? Like it's outside of like their pay grade to try to get somebody like me with everything I've been through to even feel safe with them. And a lot of them, they're not going to want to deal with it. And it's just realistic. It's just being, honest and practical, looking at it with like an honest outlook. Like they're going to look at you and be like, ain't no fucking way. Like I'm not dealing with this, you know? Like they're going to try to pawn you off to somebody else or, you know, they're not going to want to deal with some rare, diagnosis that's like under 1% of the population. No, they're not. They're just not. It's very rare. Like if you look, I don't know if you guys have seen Dr. Ramani's video where she talks about it, and she literally like in her video she's like, I have personally never met a patient like that. I have never had a schizoid patient in my practice. Like she literally says it in her video. I've never seen one. She said that. And I'm like, okay, so obviously it's pretty fucking rare. So if she doesn't help or have any experience, like, and she's one of the most, renowned therapists in the world, like, in the world that deals with narcissistic abuse and helps survivors with PTSD, everything. And if she even sits there and says, this is rare, I've never seen this in my practice, then what fucking hope do I have? Like, I don't know. I wish that she and like other content creators, but they're probably never going to do this. I really, really wish that they would link narcissistic abuse to what I have, to these diagnoses. I fucking wish they would, because it would explain a lot. Like it would explain so much. Like they need to tie narcissistic abuse with suffering with these disorders like that I have, like under the cluster A. Like I believe that narcissistic abuse causes what I have. It literally fucking does. It's the reason why I am the way I am today. And I don't know why she won't like make videos like that, you know? She just basically says, oh, it's rare. Like I've never seen one of them in my practice. And I'm like, you've seen so many narcissists come in, but you're telling me you've never seen somebody diagnosed with schizoid. Like she basically said, I've never seen it in my life. So I don't know why therapists like her, world-renowned therapists that talk about narcissistic abuse, don't put more research, funding, whatever into this. It doesn't make a lot of sense, does it? Like, but they put so much into studying, researching narcissists. But when it comes to like what the survivors suffer from and what they fucking go through and what they get diagnosed with, where's the money? Where's the research? Where's the help? Where is the support? So I don't know. I'm tired of it, I really am. It's like reaching a dead end. It almost feels like getting this diagnosis was like almost like letting my abusers win, letting them fucking win. While they're out there, you know, socializing and manipulating all these people and getting what they want, you know, and fucking, influencing so many people and seeming to get ahead in life. We all know at the end of the day they self-destruct, but still, like, it seems like they're winning, right? And then the people they leave behind, the victims, are the ones suffering in isolation, They're the ones suffering, going into full-blown schizophrenia. They're the ones literally suffering years later and living in isolation and not having any support. It's so fucked up. It's disgusting, but that's the situation. Um, you know, that's the situation. If any of my past abusers found out what I have, what I've been diagnosed with, um, they would probably fucking laugh. Because they would know that it's a disorder of isolation. Like, who can I influence, if I'm constantly isolated? I can't convince society. I can't convince social circles. I can't convince other people about narcissists or expose narcissists or all that if I'm not even out socializing. If I'm not even out interacting with people or influencing anyone or, moving in social circles, and networking like regular people know how to network and I don't. Who the fuck, other than having my channel, obviously, can I help? Can I influence? If I'm not out there, in the real world and able to, socialize in groups and network and all, like I can. I fucking can't. I fucking can't. The only way I feel like I can help other people, and support other people or influence anybody is just, I guess, talking by myself on my channel, my platform where I feel comfortable, you know, instead of being around all these people trying to speak up or, where things can get awkward for me, socializing in these big groups or, yeah, I don't know how else to do it other than what I've been doing on my channel, doing it solo, doing it alone. Like, so yeah, I mean, it is a literal hell having this, and I don't know why, like, there were like some other forums or something like for narcissistic abuse where they were saying like somebody was like, "Oh, I dated a schizoid for so many years and they were like a soulless zombie." Like, what the fuck? Like, are you fucking serious? Do you know part of the diagnosis is having a rich internal world like that you go into? Like, it's just like they're basically trying to say they're soulless like a narcissist, but that's fucking bullshit. That's fucking bullshit. Like, I'm not soulless. I'm not devoid of, completely empty on the inside like a narcissist. No, that's not what it is. You know, I have a rich internal world. I have empathy. I have all these things that narcissists don't. So I was just annoyed because, they're like, "Oh, I dated a schizoid." She's probably talking about a schizoid man, and they're probably different than like schizoid women. I mean, just more like a man, men are. But she's like, "Oh yeah, I dated him, and it was just like a soulless whatever zombie." Like, what the fuck? I was just like, "Are you?" And she's like comparing that, talking about versus dating a narcissist. I'm like, there's no fucking comparison. You know what I mean? Like, a schizoid guy or like an autistic guy, like they might show love differently than a regular guy, you know? But it's nothing comparable to a fucking narcissist that's abusing you. Like, get the fuck out of here. So I was getting annoyed with her comments, and who knows if she was just a narcissist trolling. But I'm like, there's no comparison, One of them is actively harming you and abusing you and targeting you and, robbing you and draining your life force energy and trying to destroy you. And the other one is just fucking struggling with their own shit and isn't meaning anything intentionally, to hurt you or, to cause any harm, and is basically by their nature the complete total opposite of a narcissist. So I don't know what she was getting on about. But she probably maybe was talking about how he was like detached socially, he didn't want to like socialize a lot, and maybe she did. I don't know. But I mean, for people like us where socializing drains us, I mean, she might not have been like that. Maybe she was extroverted. I don't know. But yeah, I mean, the thing is, like, schizoid is like the extreme version of an introvert. You know, it's like it's that's how I describe it, like an extreme, 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 extreme introvert, and like an INFJ, like because I tested for being an INFJ taken to like a whole other level. That's how I would describe it, like in a nutshell. Like it's like the extreme version of like an INFJ, because you know how INFJs use like a lot of it's like introversion, INFJ. I forgot what the N stands for. Feeling, judging, but they no, it's called like internal focus or like internalized internal processing, something with INFJ, but it's like taken to like the extreme version. So that's how I would describe it. But I truly personally believe that a lot of the F is it INFP, INTJ, INFJ. I believe a lot of them um, personally are some kind of neurodivergent, or they were like the sensitive, you know, empath child, and then as an adult they grow into some kind of neurodivergence or some kind of schizophrenia spectrum, because the whole thing with like, you know, a lot of the times with autism, schizoid, neurodivergence, the child was extremely sensitive, you know? So they had to put up all of these walls, everything to try to, because, you know, being that sensitive, it's like wearing your nervous system on the outside of your body. So you have to put up, you know, extreme walls just to keep the noise out, you know, just to try to protect your sensitivity. You know what I mean? Because if you're that fucking sensitive as a child, you have to eventually, as an adult, do something to protect that sensitivity if nobody else was protecting you or protecting that sensitivity. And that's why I think a lot of those, you know, kind of children grow into this. That's my theory, at least. That's why I think it's a defense mechanism. If you're that sensitive as a child, you know, every little thing makes you cry, every little, you know, you're sensitive to every little noise, every little movement. Like eventually you're going to grow into like maybe the almost not the extreme opposite, but you're gonna, you know, at some point try to grow some kind of protection, you know, around that, or some kind of shell, basically, you know, like a shell around that to protect it. It's about safety and like self-protection, you know. It's not about killing off completely killing off that sensitivity. It's about putting a shell around it so that the wrong fucking people, obviously, who don't deserve it, right? As we all know, with narcissists and predators trying to target that sensitivity, who don't deserve that. You know, they don't deserve that part of you. They don't deserve your sensitivity. They don't deserve your empathy. The only people who get that, who get access to it, are those who've proven it over time. You know, proven they're trustworthy, proven that they're loyal, proven that they're consistent, proven that they actually are genuine with you. Those are the ones who get access to that, but like nobody else, you know? Um, Nobody else. And a lot of the times I know myself and like other survivors would just give that away for nothing, give it away for free, you know, give away their trust, um, give away their empathy, their sympathy to those who never deserved it in the first place. And that's where your judgment, you know, your discernment comes into place, where you can do your investigations, your research on somebody way beforehand so you can determine whether they're worth that or not. You know, make the correct judgment about their character first before you ever invest that level of trust or sympathy or whatever for them. You know, you have to judge their character, their actions, you know, how they're treating you. And a lot of times they do end up being opportunistic or lying, or they're not genuine with you, you know? That's the case for like a lot of survivors, you know? They find out that somebody that they thought their friend was never being genuine at all. Um So I don't know. It just really sucks that society constantly props up, you know, and protects the abusers, the predators. Meanwhile, the survivors are villainized, you know, demonized, isolated, not believed, shunned, disrespected, abused again, all over again by enablers, by the people that end up siding with narcissists, just to keep the peace, you know, just to have so-called family still, even though how can you call a fucking predator family? How can you call a manipulator family? How can you call a narcissist a sociopath family? Like, that's not even a human, you know? That's not even a human, you know? And people want to fucking dehumanize somebody like, you know, me, like with the whole autism diagnosis and schizoid diagnosis. No, like, you know, I've had narcissists dehumanize me my whole fucking life since I was a child. Do you think for 1 second I'm gonna let you, just because of these diagnoses, fucking dehumanize me? No. No, yeah, I feel different. I feel different from regular normal humans. I do, but I'm not gonna let you disrespect me, dehumanize me, treat me like an object, compare me to a narcissist. No, fuck no. Not happening on my watch, because there's no fucking comparison. Yes, I am fucking different than regular people, normal people. I am eccentric, you know? I am odd. I am different. I do feel different. I feel like an alien sometimes on this fucking planet, but I'm not gonna for 1 second allow anybody to disrespect me or fucking dehumanize me, you know? Because I've had it done enough my entire life. Um, and these same people that are going to say that to me are going to turn around and side with the fucking narcissist, you know? Prop them up, enable them, side with them over me. Humanize them and fucking dehumanize me. Make it make fucking sense. I'm so tired of this shit. This fucking backwards, like, inverted world we live in. It's completely inverted. It's completely backwards. That, you know, predators, abusers, psychopaths are glorified. They got all this love, all this support, all these people backing them when they're the ones that deserve to be isolated. They're the ones that deserve to be shunned and put into solitude, solitary confinement, which we all know they would go crazy if they were completely isolated, left alone. Unlike someone like me that can be in fucking solitude for days, weeks. I love it, you know? I don't feel lonely. Most of the time, I can do, you know, without people for like a long time. But that's pure torture for them, you know? So, but they're the ones that deserve that, you know? They're the ones that deserve to be in that situation. But somebody like me who really actually needs it, you know, support and somebody to believe me, you know, and a lot of survivors actually need it, but they're the ones who are isolated. They're the ones who aren't believed. They're the ones who are shunned, and they're the ones like put into that, you know, social isolation in society, and it's really fucked up. When they're the ones that should be, you know, getting supported. They're the ones that should be being defended. They're, you know, they're the ones that should be being protected. But a lot of times it's backwards. You know, I've had very rare instances of other people stepping in and defending me and actually protecting me. Very rare in the last few years, but it has happened a few times. But it's extremely rare because we all know most of the time, the narcissist is going to be the one that's protected most of the time. Very rarely will somebody who's maybe an empath or actually an empath or has just been through it with narcissists before will actually step in and defend and protect somebody like me, because they'll see I'm being honest. I'm completely honest with them, and I tell the truth always. So they'll side with me. They'll side with the truth over a lie, you know, over a narcissist or a bully or a predator that's targeting me. So the main thing is, you know, they see that I'm isolated. They see that I'm quiet. They see I don't have a lot of family support, whatever, and they come for me. And then they fuck around and find out. They find out that I outsmart them, that I outmaneuver them, that I basically outsmart them with pure logic and strategicness and everything. Um, and I don't even have to raise my voice. You know, I don't even have to shout at them. I don't have to do a damn thing. Just me being myself, I defeat them most of the time. But they still do come for me, you know, physically even they'll attack me in the street, you know, try to put their hands on me, everything, because they know they can't manipulate me emotionally. They can't get to me mentally, emotionally most of the time. They can't get to my energy. So what are they left to resort to except putting their hands on me, physical violence. So I still am a target. I still am a targeted individual. I still am attacked and targeted by them. And I will be for the rest of my life, you know. It doesn't matter how strong I feel like I am. It doesn't matter how analytical and logical and you know, strategic and detached that I am. It doesn't fucking matter. I'm still a target. I'm still their number one prey. I'm still, you know, I'm still the one they look at and think that's the one I'm going to target every single time, you know, every single time. And the main reason, again, is just because they think that I'm vulnerable. They think that I'm vulnerable. They think I'm a victim. They think I'm isolated, and they're fucking wrong. They're dead wrong, you know. They're dead wrong. They look at me, they look at my life, and they see isolation. They immediately think vulnerability, but it's not fucking true. It's not true, because the vast majority of the time, I literally choose this. I choose the isolation, you know, most of the time. I choose the solitude because it's where I find peace. You know, I don't know any other way, because, again, I've explained every time I try to go out there and socialize, and it ends up being another narcissist. I don't want to keep reliving the same fucking nightmare over and over again. So I just cut off the access. You know, I just cut off putting myself in situations where I'm going to keep running into them, which is pretty much almost any form of socializing, you know, any form of networking, any form of going out there and meeting people. You're likely to run into them because they're everywhere, you know. They're everywhere. So what's the most logical, you know, solution is just isolation, you know, solitude. But even in solitude, even in isolation, they will find you. They'll find you. You know, you could be alone reading a book in a fucking library. You're not out at a bar. You're not out at a club dancing, trying to, you know, perform for people and play any, you know, get attention or whatever, you know, all dressed up at a club. Whatever. Like, you know, you're out, you're being seen, you know, you're trying to get attention and validation from society by doing those things, you know. I'll be honest, I feel like that's what it is a lot of the times. You know, this whole like lifestyle of going out, you know, to restaurants, right? To parties, you know, weddings, socializing events, you know, clubs, lounges, dressing up, going to these places. Is it nice once in a while? Sure. But honestly, like, I feel the main, you know, another reason I feel that narcissists love those environments, and they absolutely love to be seen, to be out on the scene, to go out, to be seen in the public, to go to all these places, you know, and drink and party. The reason is because they need that attention, right? They need that fucking validation, and they need to be seen. Otherwise, they don't exist, right? if they're not seen, if they're not complimented, if they're not noticed, right? And somebody like me, it's like the complete opposite. I don't want that attention. I don't want those eyes on me. I don't want people coming up talking to me, or being disturbed by strangers bothering me. I don't feel that need to constantly get that attention or socialize or, feel validated by the external outside world. I don't want that. I don't need that. So, for me, especially like recently, like being out and just being in those places is uncomfortable, you know? It's uncomfortable being in a loud, fucking restaurant with everybody, just it's almost like it's like a fake, you know, a fake social performance, It can be, I guess, fun sometimes, but I guess because I don't really feel like that dopamine rush, that dopamine hit that a lot of people feel when they go and do those things. So it's fun for them, it's pleasurable. I don't get that. So for me, it's like I feel like a lot of the times, like, what is the fucking point, What's the point for somebody like me to go out and do those things if I don't even feel pleasure from it? I'm not the same part of other people's brains that's being activated that gets pleasure from doing those things. And that it's fun for them, but for me, I don't get that dopamine hit. I don't feel any joy or pleasure out of doing those things. Like, so if I go out and do them, I'm just going through the motions, I'm just going through the motions. Like, if I go out with somebody to a restaurant, I'm literally going through the motions. I'm waiting until I can leave, you know? Honestly, if I'm being completely honest and blunt, like, I'm sitting there waiting until I can leave because most of the time it's not really something they did. It's just being in those loud environments, with the constant sensory bullshit that I have to process and deal with, the noise, you know, the loudness, the sights, the smells, the lights, all that. I don't want to be there, I'm being overwhelmed. It's just too much, I just want to be like back in my, place and just alone and not around all those people, like, but like I'll do it, but it's just like I don't get that. I don't get that, pleasure or that hit of dopamine out of doing it. I don't. I really don't. Um, I used to kind of feel like I did back when I was still obviously like searching externally for validation, and I wanted approval, I wanted, like my self-esteem was so fucking low that I felt like, I wanted that approval. I wanted that validation. This was like obviously when I was younger, in my early 20s, mid 20s, still going out, still like dating, still searching for external approval that I was never going to get. External validation from who? From narcissists, from people that fucking prop up narcissists and support them and believe abusers over the victims. I don't want fucking I don't want validation or approval from them. I don't need it. And that's the majority of people that you meet, within every single social circle on this earth, pretty much all of them, you're going to have at least one toxic person in that social circle, one narcissist. And that's the reason I don't like do groups. I don't want to be in a group setting. I don't want to socialize in groups. Why? Because there's always going to be one of them there. That's why. In a group of 5 or more people, or 3 or more people, there's going to be a narcissist. There's going to be a narcissist, or there's just going to be people that severely judge me, or bully me for being neurodivergent, and they're not going to like it. They're not going to like me for it. They're going to say some bullshit to me, like, oh, you're a loner. You like to be alone a lot. I've had people make these slick comments, about the way I am because they don't like me for being this way. They judge me harshly for it, you know? Harshly. Like, meanwhile, these are the same people that are cowards. These are the same people that prop up bullies and abusers and manipulators, or try to manipulate you, or use you or parasite off you. And they judge somebody like me for not being fake, for not being phony, for being honest, for being blunt, for not being afraid to speak my mind, for being fearless. I get punished for it, you know? I get ostracized from groups. I get targeted. I get shamed. Um, you know, because the reason I'm getting shamed and ostracized is because I'm not putting on a fake performance. I'm not kissing anybody's ass. I'm not being true to who I am, I'm not forfeiting my own comfortability, my own comfort for somebody else, I'm not sacrificing my boundaries for somebody. Like, that's why, because I don't placate to these like social norms, these fucking hierarchies, these games, social etiquette, social games. That's why I get targeted. That's why I get ostracized. That's why people don't like me. But it's for all the wrong fucking reasons, right? Oh, just because I don't play your little like neurotypical social game of social hierarchies, or, shit like that, or because I'm too honest for society. No, you're punishing me when meanwhile we have narcissists running amok and getting away with all this abuse and harming people, and you're not calling them out. Like, it's just, see, like, what I mean? Like, it just makes me want to like not stay indoors more and not socialize more because of that. So yeah, I don't know. It just really sucks, you guys, like being targeted like this. Um, having people enable and support these fucking monsters over you. These fucking monsters over the survivors, just because the survivors a lot of times are neurodivergent. They are different, They are weird according to what narcissists or society would call them. But they're punished, constantly punished and isolated for it. And sociopaths are propped up because they know how to play the game, They know how to charm. They know how to fake emotions, fake empathy, fake all that. And I'm not trying to fake anything. And that's why I'm not liked, But sociopaths, narcissists are well liked because they lie, They lie to get what they want. They lie to charm their way and to tell people what they want to hear. But I don't do that, I don't do that. I don't placate anybody's ego. I don't tell people what they want to hear, I don't kiss anybody's ass. I don't play those games, and that's why I'm disliked, That's why I'm disliked. That's why I'm punished and kicked out of groups, or, because I don't play those fucking games. But narcissists do. That's why they're accepted, That's why they're accepted, and people just let everything they do slide, And it almost makes me like not even feel sorry for those people that get harmed by narcissists, Like, why should I have empathy for them and sympathy for their plight when they finally get really done in by a narcissist, when the whole time they didn't believe me when I called out the narcissist in that group? The whole time they punished me for being a loner. The whole time they made fun of me and mocked me, fucking mocked me for liking to be alone a lot. Why the fuck should I feel sympathy or sorry or pity or anything for somebody like that? that didn't even believe me, even if I tried to warn them and be and do my part, to help them when they didn't even fucking deserve it, the help in the first place. And then they disbelieve me and then make fun of me on top of it, you know? This has happened so many times, I have literally warned people before, like in a workplace, like, hey, that's a malignant narcissist. And I've told them straight up, malignant narcissist. I use that fucking word. And they look at me like, hey, you're crazy. You're just starting drama. You're gossiping, in the workplace and all that. And then I get singled out. I get isolated. I get dogpiled and bullied by the entire office. Well, maybe one or two people might believe you, but they push you out. They push you out and they support the predators. I have had maybe one or two people in my entire professional life, professional network, in terms of work and my career, that have ever stood up to me when they've seen me being targeted by a sociopath in the workplace. Only like one or two that I can't even count on one hand. But everybody else, no. Everybody else joined up against me, the targeted one, the targeted individual, and sided with the narcissist. Meanwhile, I wasn't having it. In those environments, I was going straight for the narcissist's neck. I was standing up to them, getting in their face, fighting back. And then I was the one who got bullied and ostracized, from the group for standing up to the fucking predator. It's fucking disgusting, It makes you not even want to fucking try anymore. I mean, I'm still going to keep fighting, but people want to believe lies over the truth. They want to believe what sounds good over the fucking honest truth, They want to believe in fucking delusions and just what they want to believe in instead of what's standing right fucking there in front of them, which is a fucking monster. None of us wanted to believe it, None of us wanted to believe it until we actually saw the mask drop and the smirk and the liar for what they were. Until we actually saw the mask drop and saw they never had any loyalty to us. They wanted to see us hurt. They got off on our suffering. And meanwhile, they were pretending to be a friend the whole time. That's fucking sick. That's fucking sick. They have no fucking morals. And that's the fucking fundamental difference between a narcissist and a fucking schizoid. Yes, the schizoid can be detached socially a lot, daydreaming, fantasizing in their own little rich internal world. But that's not the fucking same as them having no empathy, no conscience, no morals, and literally they will being friends with somebody and secretly wishing their harm and downfall and bullying them passive aggressively. You can't even compare the two. All right? It's bullshit. It's fucking bullshit. And there's people that want to try to compare them. There's no comparison. None. None. There's no comparison. You can't compare them at all. So I don't know. Like, it wouldn't make sense at all for a schizoid to be friends with somebody that, first of all, they don't even like, right? And secondly, that they secretly wish their downfall. Like, no, that's fucking bullshit. The only reason a schizoid would be friends with somebody is because they actually broke through our walls. We feel safety around them and trust them for the most part and actually want to connect with them, With narcissists, it's never about connection. It's about being transactional, what they can get from you, and it's all fake. It's all fake. A schizoid would never be fake like that, We would never, ever want to even begin to try to connect with somebody unless we actually wanted to fucking connect with them or try to connect as much as we're able to given our limitations and fucking disabled dopamine and all these connection issues and isolation issues. We would still try to our greatest ability, you know what I'm saying? But yeah, no, it wouldn't be like fake like that, you know? We would, there's no, because we wouldn't see any fucking logical reason whatsoever to fake anything with anybody, you know? But they constantly do. Everything about them is fake, everything. That's why they hate people like me, like us, you know? They want to fucking destroy us. Destroy us. Steal from us, you know? I can't stand a fucking thief, you know? Somebody who takes what doesn't belong to them, you know? And we all know narcissists are thieves. I believe most thieves are narcissists, you know? And I have had shit stolen from me recently in the last few months. I have, right? In my own apartment. Yeah. Yeah. That's what I'm dealing with right now. That's what I'm dealing with contractors. Yeah. That have stolen right under my fucking nose. And I do believe they have to be narcissist or narcissistic to do that to somebody. You know? Somebody you're supposed to be able to trust in your own home, and you can't trust them. You can't trust anybody. Even if supposedly they're contracted, you know, by your building. No. No, if they're in your space and they see an opportunity and they take that opportunity with your back turned, fuck. You know, but they'll talk really nice, right? Really friendly, try to get you to let your guard down when they're in your own fucking four walls in your own home. And then the second you turn your back, it's disgusting. It's disgusting. But they think that they can get away with it. But they won't get away with it for long. Because eventually that shit catches up to them. You know, it's passive aggression. That's truly what it is. Passive aggression, you know? Smiling to your face, being fake to your face, you know? Acting kind, acting nice when they're not. They're anything but. And what do? Right under your nose, they take something that isn't theirs. They take from you. They fucking steal. Like to somebody like me, that doesn't make any sense, you know? Like, I'm not going to be fake polite, fake nice to somebody that I don't fucking like. I'm going to avoid them if I don't like them, you know? But then no, like, these people, like, they're not gonna avoid you if they don't like you. You know, they're gonna come around, they're gonna be friendly, they're gonna act like, you know, they like you, and they fucking don't. Because you don't take from somebody that you like, you know? You don't steal from something from someone that you like, you know what I mean? You don't rob something from someone that you like. Like, this is the biggest issue with survivors and people like me. Like, we want to think logically, right? We want to think, okay, if I don't like somebody, I'm not going to pretend that I like them to their face and meanwhile passive aggressively sabotage them behind their back, you know, or do something fucked up to them but still act like friendly to their face. No. Like, if I don't like someone, I'm just going to ignore them, you know? I'm just going to give them the cold shoulder. I'm just going to walk past them like I didn't see them or whatever, you know? But that's the thing with these passive aggressive narcissistic motherfuckers, you know, narcissists, is they play hot and cold, you know? They want to act 1 minute like kind, friendly, all that, but then the next minute you'll see the mask slip or drop, and then they'll walk past you like they never saw you. Well, but that's who they really are. That's how they really feel about you. when they walk past you like they never saw you because they don't actually like you, you know? So what I try to make sense of is why would you even do any of that in the first place? You know what I mean? Put on that fake act of fake friendliness, kindness, all that, if that's how you really felt the whole time, you know? Because somebody like me, like I would just, you know, for the most part, if if I decide that I don't actually like you and I don't want anything to do, like I'm not gonna put on any of that fake niceness, fake friendliness, no. But that's what they do, you know, that's what they do to try to get you to drop your guard and put on a fake performance, a fake act, and meanwhile their actions are completely different, you know, being two-faced, yeah, basically. Being two-faced because I take things so literally with my autism that I think someone approaching, it's not even being naive, it's just taking things so literally like I do. Like I think to myself, I think logically, you know, we all are thinking rationally, you know, like this, like, well, if somebody approaches and they're showing kindness or, you know, whatever, or faking empathy, sometimes it can be believable at first, or, you know, trying to be nice and friendly, you know, and like neighborly, like you think, okay, like they must like mean it, you know, um, they must actually, you know, like me or want to be, no. And then that's when you see the backstabbing. That's when you see the two-facedness, the other face. So, I don't know. I mean, it's just like fucked up because somebody who's honest, you know, and literal, isn't even going to put on like that fake performance because they actually want to, you know, connect and build a connection. But for the other person, it was just transactional. It was all fake, you know? It was because they wanted information or they wanted something from you, but they didn't actually mean it, you know? They didn't actually like it's mind-boggling, you know? It's mind-boggling to people who are literal and honest like myself. It's mind-boggling because we wouldn't even, you know what I mean, like waste the energy or anything to do that in the first place. Like it seems crazy to us. And it is crazy, but that's how they are. That's how they will waste their own time just to feel like they won or, you know, feel like they got under your skin or got one over on you or inconvenienced you, or, you know, or messed with your head. Like it's fucking crazy. It's fucking psychotic. It doesn't make any sense, but that's what they do. Literally, it's all to try to assert power, control, dominant. I don't want to control anybody. I don't want, you know, I don't want shit like that from anybody. I just want to live my life and let other people live their lives, you know? I'm very live and let live. I don't want to control anybody. I don't want to push anybody's boundaries, but because I respect other people's boundaries to the T because I want my boundaries respected. But that's not what they're like. They're constantly crossing boundaries. They're constant boundary pushers, you know? That's what they are. You know, they want everything on their terms only. And they don't respect anybody else's terms. They don't respect anybody else's boundaries. Um, but the one thing about them is they will protect themselves at all costs because they only care about themselves, right? So they will preserve themselves. One thing they do understand is self-preservation. So they will preserve themselves at all costs. Some people say some narcissists will destroy themselves just to get to you, but I don't know. I mean, I honestly think a lot of them are all about just pure self-preservation. You know, a lot of them, they're not really gonna inconvenience themselves, you know, too much or put themselves, their own, you know, livelihood, their own selves at risk. I don't think so for you. No. No, they're not like that. They're not, you know, gonna sacrifice anything for you or anybody. No. So yeah, I guess it's just really violating, you know what I mean? Like it just feels like it's just triggering my CPTSD all over again to be violated in your own home like that, you know? It is very unsettling. It is a huge violation, you know, of your safety. It is to be violated like that, you know what I mean? To be stolen right under your nose by somebody in your own home, you know what I mean? To be stolen from right under your nose. It's disgusting. And it is deeply violating, you know, to have it happen right in your own home when you're there. But that's what they do. That's what they do. They'll do it right under your nose the second your back is turned. So anyway, I'm getting a little tired. I'm gonna hop off now. I've been talking for like, thought this was only gonna be an hour. But anyway, love you guys. We are almost at the end of July. It's crazy to think about. Almost the end of summer. The time flew. Um, the summer has flown by. Um, I haven't really had any other plans coming up, honestly, other than just try to enjoy the rest of the summer in New York. Maybe I'll find a pool, or I don't know what I'm gonna do, like, honestly. Just try to find something to do. You know, some exciting stuff for like the rest of the summer, like maybe some art galleries or just something to check out. Um, there's a million things happening constantly around New York, but are all of those events like quality events? No. Um, do a lot of those events have really shitty people at them and just ridiculous, you know, shit going on, fuckery? Yeah, they do. So I want to be like, you know, selective with the like events I do go to if I attend any, or you know, or just I want like quality, you know, experiences the rest of the summer, whatever I can find, you know, kayaking or just something, you know, nice to do. I'm going to try to figure it out while the weather's still good. Um, I haven't even unpacked all my summer clothes yet. It's crazy. I have like my winter clothes still out. I haven't even looked at the bins under my bed because I have like all my storage is in my studio. So I literally managed to like keep all my belongings inside a 500 square foot studio, and like it's all like in storage under my bed. So all my belongings are not are here, not in a storage unit. So I managed to somehow fit all that in the studio, which is crazy. But my summer clothes are like stored in a suitcase, and like I haven't even gone through all of them yet. So like I still have winter clothes out, which is like insane, but I haven't put them away. But I mean, how am I gonna really put all of them away when I really don't have much storage in my apartment? So yeah, it's all kind of out, but I have to try to take the rest of my summer clothes out and put some of the winter stuff away. But at this point, it's already almost fall, so I might as well leave some of it out because it's gonna get cold again soon. Um, it's crazy how fast the summer flew by, but I think it feels like it kind of like flew by fast because I haven't really like gone on any trips. I haven't taken time off work. I haven't really traveled anywhere except my trip was in May. I went to Maine. But other than that, I haven't really traveled this summer. So maybe that's kind of why it feels like kind of a blur because I haven't really like gone anywhere. I haven't really gone on a trip this summer. I haven't, you know, I've just stayed like mostly in my apartment or, you know, in New York. I haven't really gone anywhere else. So that's probably why I haven't gone on a summer vacation or a break or anything. Um, but yeah, I'm gonna try to get, you know, the rest of my summer clothes and just try to get out, do whatever the rest of August and, you know, maybe do a little shopping, replace some of my old clothes. I want to go to, you know, I don't know about like Zara, but just to somewhere get some quality clothes, you know. I might go to Primark too. I know they don't really have like the best quality clothes, but some of their stuff is good. So I want to do a little shopping and replace some of my stuff. You know, can't buy too much because I really don't have space here to store it, but um, I guess that's one of the paradoxes of living in New York City is your apartment is so small that you really can't afford to, you know, buy like a ton of stuff, you know, because you're limited with how much space you have here. So I guess that's kind of a good thing since like in New York we pour all of our money into rent. So with the astronomical rents, so it's like, you're basically putting all your money into rent instead of like obviously if somebody has more space in their apartment, they're gonna like be able to do a lot more shopping, right? And spend more of their money like on buying clothes and shopping and stuff. But like in New York City, even if you have the money to do all the shopping, you don't have the space to store it. So, I mean, there's like no point really in doing a lot of shopping because I don't have any space to store it. So, yeah, I feel like in New York City, it's kind of ironic that you have all this shopping, right at your fingertips in Manhattan, but like, how much can you really buy, because you can't, unless you live in like some, you know, 900 plus square foot penthouse, which who the hell can afford that in New York, You're probably living in an apartment that's like under 600 square foot. So, I mean, you know, I don't know. But yeah, that's another thing. That's for another video, but um well, I mean, you could get a storage unit as well, but I have a storage place like within like a 2-minute walking distance from me, like a storage unit, like extra space storage or something. But like honestly, like why do I want to pay for a storage unit every month? That doesn't make any sense. Like just get rid of it. Like I'm not going to pay for like a 200, 300 square 200 square foot like storage space or 100 square foot storage space that pay what like 150, $200 a month. That's like $2,000 a year just to store stuff that's probably not even worth that much. It doesn't make any sense. I'm not going to do that. So I just don't see the sense in keeping a storage unit. I don't want to do that. You know, I don't want to do that because in New York City, there's dampness, there's rain. Uh, it's not climate controlled that well a lot of times. There's rats. New York City's full of rats, mice that get inside the unit, and it can get disgusting in there in the unit. No, thank you, no. I've seen some of those units. I have my stuff in there once for a few weeks, and it gets gross. It gets nasty in some of those units. It gets nasty, and a lot of the people that run these storage units as well are fucking bullies. They're narcissistic bullies. They saw somebody like me moving in from out of state and they immediately gave me the worst fucking unit they could in the basement with dampness and rats. And they will target you, if they think you're not from here or, you know, I want to say if you're white especially, but yeah, you're gonna get thrown in the ringer. So no thank you. I can do without it. I'm good. Well, I'm good. So anyway, I hope you guys have a good rest of July. And wish me luck finding safe activities and stuff to do around Manhattan and the city the rest of the summer. I'm going to try to enjoy it as much as I can and just hunker down for the fall, figure out maybe somewhere to travel this fall, take some time off work. Not really sure. Where yet, but I was thinking kind of like last year how I went to Salem, Massachusetts, which was really fucking cool to see the history of, the witch trials and all that. Like I might do that again, like in the fall. I think that would be really cool to go to Massachusetts again. It's like like a 4-hour drive for me, so it's not that far, but like I would probably take my car up there and go to like Boston, stay there in Salem and stuff and that was awesome. Like last year, like they had like the cider donuts and the clam chowder trucks and it was just so chill. They had like haunted houses, and the architecture was beautiful. It was gorgeous, seeing like the really old buildings from like, the courthouses and It was just so cool. Like Salem is such a vibe, you know? All the little like gothic little like boutiques, and it's just I love the energy like of Salem. It was just like such a I don't know, it's hard to describe, but I just loved it. So I might go there in the fall, in September maybe or something. I don't know. But and also to see the foliage, the fall leaves. Like I flew into Boston last October, and you guys saw I did that drive to through Boston to New Hampshire, and filmed all the foliage. It was just so beautiful. Like I want to see it again and drive that highway drive, the Concomagus Highway, Concomagus. I can't say it. And just see all the leaf changes. But you have to go like early. Like last year, I went too late. It was like October. You have to go like sometime like the last week of September or something. So I'm gonna try to go and make that drive again. But yeah, it's like out of this world. Like there is like nothing like fall foliage in that part of New Hampshire. Like it's just out of this world. But I want to go there. So yeah, plus I kind of like miss New England. Like I love New York, but like in terms of finding the fresh seafood, the fresh clam chowder, uh just like the New England kind of stuff, like you can really only get that like in New England. So that's why I miss it, and it's so close. So I'm like, oh, why not just drive, a couple hours and there I am in New England. Because New England is just so different from like the tri-state area. It's so different from like the whole New York, New Jersey thing. Like Connecticut, Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Maine, all of that is just like its own thing, like New England. Um, it's just so different than like New York, and it's hard to describe, but it's different. Um, they seem like the same, because they're in the same general area, but they're very different. Very different. Different accents, different lifestyles, different, slang. Like it's totally different. Um, that's why there's so much like beef and like rivalry, between like Bostonians, like, I call them Bostonian. Well, they call themselves Bostonians, but people from Boston and people from New York, there's this, it's like sibling rivalry, but yeah. You guys saw before when I was planning to move, I was literally almost gonna go to Boston over New York. I'm glad I didn't now, but like honestly, there's still a part of me like deep down that really honestly has just so much respect for Boston. Like it's hard to describe. Like I guess I don't know if part of it is just being the oldest city in the country, but like just like the level of like how smart people are there, the intelligence. I'm not saying you don't get that in New York, you do, but just the level of like intelligence, sophistication. I really respect that. People kind of like being more introverted there. I feel in New York, like there's just so much of this vibe there, but I don't know. I'm not sure. But it was like a split between the two before, and then I ended up coming back to New York, but there's just so much I love about Massachusetts. Like it's just I don't know. The healthcare, everything. It's just such a beautiful like state. The history in Boston, everything. Like, that's older, even older than New York. Like, there's just like I don't know. I just really, really love it there. Like, you know, the whole New England vibe. Like, it's different. Like, it's a whole different world than New York. But I fell in love too with like the north side of Boston, like this Little Italy. Well, we have Little Italy here in New York, but it's like called like the north side, so it's like really, really like authentic Italian. And I haven't eaten at a whole lot of Italian restaurants. I'm sure there's so many authentic Italian places, obviously in New York City, but like they have like the north side, like this totally Italian neighborhood there. The pasta I had was literally the best pasta I've had in my entire life. It was just, and I don't even get that much of an appetite on my medication, but like, or my taste buds aren't that great, but like it was just unbelievable, the pasta in Boston. I mean, in that part of like the north side, the Italian desserts, you know, the pasta, it was just like unfreaking believable. Cause it's like generations, like it's so old, like of these Italians that pass, you know, these recipes. Like it's just like, you know, just incredible, you know. And I've gone to places here in New York on the water, you know, Italian places that tasted awful, you know, tasted like crap, tasted like it came out of a can. But like Boston, like, oh my God. Like even at the airport in Boston, the food was incredible. So I don't know why people talk about the food, you know, in Boston not being as good as New York, because I beg to differ. I don't know. I loved everything I ate in Boston, tasted incredible. But I have had a lot of bad, shitty food here in New York, which you think, oh my God, like New York City has the best of the best. No, I have eaten at so many shitty restaurants here. I have gotten DoorDash orders that tasted terrible. And I'm sure there's incredible, amazing restaurants here in New York. I believe actually most of them are probably in Manhattan, not in my part of Queens. But yeah, the one I mean, I've eaten at some terrible restaurants here. So, um, yeah. But yeah, I love how clean Boston is. Obviously, you know, New York is like a lot of it is kind of ghetto. Like not all of it, but like, you know, things falling apart. Like it can smell, it can be dirty, but Boston is really clean. And I don't know, the level of sophistication, like I don't know. I don't know if I'll ever leave New York, but in my life, again, but if I did, like it would probably be somewhere like Boston because it's still fast paced. People are still very direct there. Like I love direct communication. You know, people are still generally pretty honest there. But it's just a different lifestyle. Like it's obviously, you know, more slower paced, well, just more laid back and less you know, dirty, less crowded. I don't know. It's still very crowded, but just not the level of like this New York City. So I don't know. And I thought their Chinatown was so cute. Like it's definitely not as big as New York's Chinatown, but like Boston's Chinatown was still like a vibe, like, you know. Um it was still really cute. They had like, you know, a decent amount of options there in their Chinatown. So anywho, I'm actually gonna get going now. I'm getting a little tired. But yeah, you guys take care and I hope you have a good rest of the weekend.